and welcome back. This week is another Code With Me video. So I'm just here at work again, and I'm doing something quite simple today. All I'm really doing at the moment is I need to deploy some changes to production. So in this case, I have already written all of the code in my development environment. I have already pushed that code up to a remote repository on its own separate branch. I have already gotten a review from someone else on the team. They gave me some feedback. I went back and changed a couple things that they requested, and then I pushed it back up again. And they approved it, and then I merged it into our master branch, which actually just deploys to our staging environment. So we have a couple of different environments in our application. We have a bunch. We have a staging environment. We have, obviously, I have my development environment. We have the production environment, which is the real live app that all of our users see. And then we have a pre-production environment. We have, I think, a specially localized environment for China, and one other experimental environment that I can't remember exactly what that is used for, but the main environments that we used, and when I say environment, I mean basically a version of the application that runs under certain conditions. So, for example, right now I'm on the production version of our website, and this is what all of our users see when they type in our address into the browser. They are taken to the production version of our website, and that's where they can log in, click around, see the things that they need, use our software, all of that kind of thing. The staging environment of an application is really it's basically exactly the same as the production version. It's set up to be exactly the same as the production version, except nobody but us can see it. So you have to have a staff login through our organization to be able to get there, and you have to know the URL of the application in order to be able to get to it. And so it looks exactly like the production version, but it's not visible to anyone but us. And so that allows us to push changes up into this kind of separate environment and test everything before we actually send it out into the world. And the reason we do that is because in case something is broken or something doesn't work quite the way you would expect it, you really want to test it first and discover that before you send it out to like hundreds of thousands or even millions of people. Now, obviously, we do always also write unit tests for all of our code. Every time you make a change, you are supposed to write a test for that change that basically runs the code for that little piece of the application and checks that it works the way you expect it to, and also checks that none of the other tests that other people have written fail. What can happen sometimes with sorry, I'm actually also kind of chatting to someone right now, because I need him to approve these changes before I merge them, which is why I'm kind of killing time waiting for him to get back to me while I talk to you guys. I can tell you all about this while we're waiting. So, sorry about that. Where was I? Oh yeah, so we write tests, but sometimes what can happen is that your change in your code accidentally affects, and we try our best to keep everything separate so that this doesn't happen. So everything should be its own self-contained thing that doesn't necessarily break anyone else's code. But sometimes things are dependent on each other, and a change that you make might make someone else's code run a bit differently. So we write unit tests for that, and we say, like, we write a test, we write code. Basically, you write code that tests more code. So you write a test for it, and then you run all of the tests like so. Oops, and we will see that all of the other tests are still running, and if any of the other tests fail, then you know that either your code is maybe not working quite correctly, or that your code is making a change that then you need to account for in those other places in the code. So you either will rewrite that code, or you maybe rewrite the tests to make them pass now. So, but anyway, I've already done all that. And in addition to that, what you also want to do, even though you've run all of your tests and you know that they're all working fine, before you ship it out into the world for everyone to see, you also want to test the actual code as it's running. And just make sure that it's doing what you expect it to do, and that nothing else on the website or in your app has broken as a result of that. So I'm just going to do a little bit of that right now. Am I logged into the staging version here? No, so I need to log in to the staging version of the app, and then what I actually need to do is I need to use a fake account, because, well, as I said, all of the accounts on our staging environment are fake. We have fake data and fake accounts set up for people to test things, but I need to find an account that's in the state that I want it to be in, so that I can test the things that I need to test. What I'm basically looking for is that certain things should show up for certain people in this app, and certain things should not show up for them. And so that's basically what I'm going to take a quick look at now. So I need to log in to an account that has this, that I won't see the things for, and then I need to log into another account that I will see the things for, and I need to make sure that in each of those cases the things I'm expecting to see are there, and the things that I'm not expecting to see are not there. So I'm just going to log in like that right now, and then I'm going to load the type correctly if I can. Load the staging version of this application, and I'm just going to click around, make sure that everything looks good and nothing is super broken. And obviously you can't test everything because I don't have infinite time to look at stuff. Where are we? Oh, there we go. But I do want to make sure that, the main things I'm looking for is link. Pages are loading correctly, buttons are clicking correctly, things are... I'm not getting any 404s or anything like that, that I'm still able to submit things and look at things. And it does actually look pretty good right now, so cool. I think that this is pretty ready to go out. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to GitHub, where I already have a release PR opened. Basically as I said, I've gone through this whole process. I've merged all my changes, I have tested them, I've gotten an approval. Then I had to open another PR against the production branch. So as I mentioned before, the master branch in this repository deploys to the staging environment, and then we have a production branch which deploys to the production environment. So I've just opened another PR against the production branch on this repository. It's just been approved, which is great, and now I'm going to merge it in. Okay, and there it goes. And then I'll delete this old branch because I don't need it anymore. So the guy who approved it just had a question for me. I'm just going to answer his question very quickly. So we've merged it in. This is now in the process of deploying. So what I'm going to do now, you never want to just deploy and then just like walk away, because something might go wrong with the deploy, or it might deploy and then actually be broken, which would be a real bummer. So what you're going to do is you are going to monitor the deploy, or basically watch as it goes out, watch each process as it builds and as it is deployed, and then you're even going to test it again. So once it gets onto the production version of the website, you're going to go now to the live production version, and you're going to QA it one more time, and you're going to make sure that everything looks good. And if it doesn't, you're going to be super bummed and you're going to totally freak out. And then you're going to have to do what's called rollback the deploy, or basically take the app back to a previous version. Because if things are broken in production, then people who are trying to use the site are going to be very upset. They're going to be getting a lot of bug reports. My manager is going to be coming to me like, why is all of this stuff broken? And it's really just stressful for everyone involved. So the best thing that you can do, getting more Slack messages, hang on. No, okay. The best thing that you can do is monitor your deploy. Make sure it goes out correctly. Make sure that once it's out there, things are not broken, because that is just the real bummer. Okay, so they just went out. They are live now. If something's broken, it's going to be a pain in the ass, but I don't think anything is going to be broken. I think it's going to be alright. So I am just going to do a quick QA here to make sure that things are still looking good. And so now I'm in the production version of the website. I'm taking a look at everything, and yeah, it looks good. So far so good, so far so good. Nothing's exploding yet, which is always wonderful. And I am going to actually... Okay, so I've just tested things for my personal account, and it all looks pretty good. So now I'm going to try and find a... Aha, there it is, okay. I'm going to look at this other test account. Oops. And, hang on. So the camera is a little bit in front of right where I need to see on the screen right now, so I'm just going to come down here for a second so that I can see around it and what I need to see. It's kind of silly. I should probably have a better setup for this, but I don't yet. Okay, so where are we? I still can't see around it. Oh, man. There we go. Wonderful. I think I need to get a better camera situation set up for when I am testing things like this. Let's just make sure that that's right and that I've logged in as the correct person. I think I have. Yes, okay, good. Alrighty, so we're gonna go ahead and look over here, and now this account should be great. Okay, should be cool. Okay, yeah, looks good. I think we're good here. Basically, we've gone through the process of deploying. I've monitored the deploy, and everything's gone out, and everything looks good in production. So that's really exciting. Cool. So now, the next thing you want to do is you want to go into your ticket tracking software, whatever software the company is using to track tickets, which for us is Jira. And I hate Jira, but it's kind of the best thing for the job. And you're basically just going to mark the ticket as complete so that your product manager and project manager can know that that thing has been done. Cool. Oh, you know what? While I'm here, I'm actually noticing that there is one other thing that I wanted to check in staging. So, again, this is something that this is a change I've already made, and I'm just going to want to test it a little bit. So I'm actually going to test it in development first of all. I haven't actually pushed it up yet or had it reviewed by anybody, so basically what I want to do is I just want to get out of here. Chrome, stupid thing. Okay. I basically just want to run it one more time in my development environment and see that the things that I've changed are actually changing. And again, I've got the camera directly in front of what I want to see. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to click. Basically, what I added here was I added some functionality to download a receipt of your purchase after you've purchased it. Sometimes people pay for our software and then they want to expense it to their company. So we're now allowing people to download receipts and fill in their employer's information so that they can give them an invoice and their employer can reimburse them for it. So I've already downloaded I'm already added the code to download the receipt, and that's actually already live and already out there. I think I put down the coffee cup a bit too hard. I had someone comment as my first subscriber, actually. I think the name is Agent Brain. You were my first subscriber. And he or she commented on my last video that when I was setting down my coffee cup, it was a bit loud. So I've just put this. For now, it's not really a coaster. It's just a little pad of paper. It should make kind of a nice noise. But I just set this little pad of paper down, and I'm setting my coffee cup down on this now. So hopefully this sounds better, and you can let me know, Agent Brain, in the comments. Okay, anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, so I've already added the code to download the actual receipt, but my company wants tracking on this. So we track a lot of our users' clicks through the website, which sounds a little creepy, but it's really just so that we know what users are doing in our when they're in our software, and how useful certain parts of the application are to them. So we like to track. Oh, great, and look at that, it worked. Awesome. We like to track it, like, so right now we're basically tracking to see how many people are downloading receipts, and that way we know, like, is this useful? Are people liking this, and how could we improve it? So a lot of the time I think people get really freaked out about being tracked online and about data and that kind of thing, but a lot of the times sites and companies are really just doing it. Okay, so like Facebook, for example, they're not great, right? They're manipulating your data and they're using it for nefarious purposes. But a lot of companies, like my company, are simply tracking users' clicks to get a better understanding of what users are doing and what users need and want. And our software is really built to help people learn. And so we wanna build things that are going to help people be successful learners. And the way that we do that is by gathering data on the things that are working and the things that are not working. So similar, I think last time I did a Code With Me tutorial, I was talking about the test, right? I was setting up a test to basically see if people would be clicking on this icon or if they'd be clicking on the other icon. And that way we know, like, okay, is this working? Are people using it? Are people engaging with it? And is it helping them by collecting all sorts of aggregate data about all of the things that users do on a site? Then we have a better understanding of how to help people be more successful with our software. So when I say tracking, that's really all I'm doing. Is I'm basically, when I click this button, it fires off what's called a little tracking event. And then we can get sort of like a printout or a chart of that and see over time, like, how many people are downloading these receipts, and should we keep doing it, or how should we change it, and how can we help them? So I really just wanted to make sure that that event was firing and that it has the properties that I'm expecting to see. And it does, I think. That looks great. So, cool. I've sent an event, and the name of the event is invoice downloaded, and then there's a couple other properties on there, like the user ID and the invoice number, and that is great. Looks good. Okay, cool. So we've tested that. Looks like it's ready to go. I'm gonna go ahead and just check that I've got the PR opened, and then I'm gonna probably just ping someone in that channel that I'm in to ask them for a review on it, because we want to get this out there as soon as we can. Is it? Oh, wait a minute. Where is that? Did I not open? Oh, you know what? I don't even think I opened a PR for this yet, so I can do that now too. Great. So we need to find the branch. Great. Oh, there it is. Right, I didn't. Okay. Added segment event to track downloads of invoices. And I will open that pull request. I will assign it to myself. And then I will also request a review from a couple of different people. Did that work yet? Okay. I'll ask him as well because he's pretty cool. Nice guy. And I'll go ahead and I will also assign them to it, because sometimes when you request for review, people don't always see it. It doesn't always pop up in their inbox or whatever. So when you assign someone, there's a better chance that they're gonna see it and that you're gonna get reviewed. Something that can be quite annoying is when you need to get a PR reviewed by someone, particularly if you don't have a lot of engineers on your team. People are really busy and they don't always have time, or they don't see that you need a review or whatever. So you can get stuck kind of just like waiting for this thing to be approved, which can be really kind of annoying. But yeah, cool. Alright, so I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up for today. We've got a couple of tasks checked off on our to-do list, which is great. Feels super productive, and I always like that. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you can, and I hope to see you next week.